Hello, so I recently acquired this Knitmaster Zippy 90 for instant chunky knitting, and it is the exact same machine as the American Singer or Studio LK100, except our version had pink and grey accents, whereas the American version has blue and grey accents, but it's basically the exact same knitting machine with same 90 needles and the same carriage. So I'm going to show you how to thread it, because I noticed there weren't that many, if at all, YouTube videos on how to thread this style of carriage, and anyone who owns this machine and doesn't have a manual might not know how to thread it. So it looks a little bit daunting, I suppose, if you don't know how to do it, but it's very easy, really. So you've got your tail end of the yarn here, which is attached to the ball, and there's a little clip thing here. We can focus on that, and you've got your tail end facing up like that, and you go behind that little guide there, and then you need to come under here like this, and what that is, I'll just remove that again, it's a little tensioner. So as you can see, it moves back and forth like that, and the yarn needs to go exactly in between that little tensioner and this plastic piece here, so it needs to go in between. It's hard to get into film, but it needs to go in between there, like that, so it applies the tension on the yarn, so the take-up spring can take up the slack. So you'll notice on the take-up spring there's a little, there we are, there's a little hook, so you just need to go over it like that. Make sure it's not twisted, you just want it to go straight over like that, and then finally you just push it through the eye of the carriage, and you can tie it onto your clamp if you're going to do one of those automatic or weaving cast-ons. So say that's, because I've attached it to a clamp, say that's attached to the needles or whatever, so obviously when you've knitted your row you'll stop and come back, and because it's under that tension piece there, it takes up the slack for you, so you don't need to hold on to this or do anything with it. You just let it dangle and make sure the yarn's free, because the carriage will apply the tension. And obviously if that wasn't under there, it wouldn't work. It'd just it'd go like that and it wouldn't take the slack up. And that's how you thread the yarn, starting from just the tail end like that. But say you are doing an E-wrap cast on, let's just bring out 10 needles here and do a quick, can't do this with one hand, never done an E-wrap cast on with my left hand before, but it's the first time for everything, I'm sure. So, say you've started like this with an E-wrap cast on, or a crochet cast on. Now you've got this ball end here. So you just really do it in reverse. You thread it first through the eye of the carriage, which is quite difficult again with one hand. Through the eye of the carriage, over this take-up spring, again making sure it's not twisted. There we are. Through this tension device, which applies the tension to the yarn, and then through that little guide there, and that's threaded. So now you're ready to knit, with it taking up the slack for you. Obviously I didn't push those back far enough because it's shot them out again. So I'll get a bit of weight on here because this machine does seem to require weight to use it. I just want to show you how this take-up spring works. There we are. So there you go, that's how the action of the carriage works. And that's how it should work when threaded properly. When you come back to the next row, it should lift up the slack like that, and then pull back down again when you start knitting the row. So hopefully that's helped some people that have this type of knitting machine with this carriage. This will also apply to the LK100, which came under the Knitmaster and Singer names. It's essentially the same machine, but it's a brown bed. The carriage still has this take-up spring, but it doesn't have this little plastic piece on it. And the needles don't have these roller glide things on, they're just steel needle butts. But it's basically the same principle of threading the carriage on that model. So anyway, hopefully you found this helpful if you don't have the manual for your Zippy 90 or LK100 or HK100, and hopefully it's helped you thread it. So thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully see you again soon.